Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:30 on the dot. We are going to go ahead and get started, so thank you for being here. Just like last time, we have courtesy copies of the meeting agenda. Schedule is on the podium. If you'd like to pick one up, feel free to come grab one. We are also going to have public comments like we usually do. If you would like to sign up for public comments, our clerk, Clerk Pitts, is down here. She has a clipboard. We just need you to sign your name to that sheet before we get to that section. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll for the evening. We're going to go by council district as we usually do. District 1, Tim Sullivan, please announce present if you're here.
Present if you're here.
Thank you. District 2, that's me. I am Michael Coker. I am present. District 3, Kyle Shields.
Present.
District 4, Mayor Pro Tem Michael Rudnick.
Present.
And then District 5, Mr. Doug Ingram.
Present.
Okay, we have everyone here. We are going to go ahead and start by saying the pledge as we usually do. So if you could stand if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as I said, we have a copy of the agenda schedule up on the podium. Feel free to grab one if you would like. This should be a relatively short meeting. We do have a presentation on the schedule. The Gwinnett Emergency Management Department has graciously agreed to come to talk a little bit about the City of Mulberry's emergency management plans and hazard mitigation plans. So they will give a brief presentation. We also have a few action items on the agenda, and then just as a reminder, tomorrow, well, technically January 1st at 0000 hours, we will have a meeting. The purpose of that meeting, as I've said before, is for us to go ahead and adopt the city's ordinances and the city laws. And the concern being is that obviously, the city is in effect at 00 on January 1, and so we have to make sure that we don't have a city that exists without any laws in place. And so it'll be a great New Year's Eve for those of you that are brave enough to come, but we will be here and we will adopt, we plan to discuss and adopt those ordinances. Okay. The first item that we have, item F, is the consideration of the December 17th meeting minutes. Council members, you should have a copy of those, of the Mulberry City Council meeting summary provided by Clerk Pitts. Is there any discussion about this meeting summary? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adopt this Mulberry City Council meeting summary from December 17th, 2024 at 6:30.
Motion to approve minutes, December 17th, 2024, as written.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, at this time I will call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, the Mulberry City Council meeting summary for December 17th, 2024 is adopted. The next thing is a consideration of tonight's meeting agenda. I do have one proposed amendment that I would like to do. Is I also have, Acting Clerk Pitts was very kind and went ahead and drafted the December 23rd meeting minutes. So I'd like to, if we could add that maybe under action item, just maybe above action item A, we'll call that A1, if we could go ahead and approve the minutes for December 23rd.
Motion to approve minutes, December 23rd.
Well, give me 1 second. First thing we would just do in a motion to amend but before I get to that, is there any other proposed amendments to the meeting agenda for this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I have a potential agenda change. Did we want to discuss the issue regarding ordinances? There's been some questions in the community regarding development, what we talked about. Do we want to add that to the agenda? terms of permits, licensing?
Sure,
yeah.
sure. So I believe your question is pertaining to some questions we've received about the moratorium. Is that, and that's going to be in place? Is that, am I understanding you correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So we have a motion to amend the agenda to add discussion about the moratorium. We'll add that as item A2. Any other amendments prior to us voting to amend that meeting agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask that we add a first read of the insurance premiums tax ordinance. We're going to adopt it on tonight, but we're going to have it reviewed after adoption by the insurance commissioner's attorney. I don't believe that there'll be any changes that would be needed to be made since they gave us the form they wanted. But in as much as he has agreed to go ahead and review it afterwards to ensure that it's appropriate, if we just add a first read tonight, I still have the second read on for tomorrow nights. I do not believe we'll need any of that. But if we just have the first read tonight, that gives us the methodology in the event we do need to change it tomorrow. And of course, it is due on the 1st. That's why we did it tonight instead, so it'd give us an extra night to get it in. So if we could do that, if I may, I do not see that we're going to be able to have the consultant contracts ready. We have just we've been given the last one on today. GERMA has not provided us with the language for our contracts at this point in time, and we have provided them. They only asked for information on yesterday, and we provided that to them, but we have not gotten that back either. I think that we could have it probably by next week's meeting, but if you wish to table those items, I think we don't have a problem with the bank, and we don't have a problem with the office space, but the other vendors, we're not going to be able to go forward without it tonight.
Okay, so just to summarize, Mr. Riley, thank you, Mr. Riley. He first asked we could add that as item G to do a additional first read of the insurance premium tax ordinance for purposes of in case the insurance commissioner has any changes, we can take that up later. So that we'll add that as item G. I will also agree with Mr. Riley. It probably makes the most sense to table items A, B, and C, which are the approval of the contracts for finance administration, planning and development, and code enforcement, as well as the IT consultant, while we await for GERMA. And for those of you that are sitting in the audience here this evening, GERMA is the state, basically insurance, and so we have asked them to provide clarification as to where the responsibilities of GERMA or the city would end, and then the consultants would begin. So we're still waiting to hear back on that. So any other agenda items? That's quite a bit. I'm going to summarize them here in a second, but any other items?
Mr. Mayor, did we want to add item B in presentations about the office space or the new city space, I should say?
Sure. How about we add that with the approval of the contract for the city office space? Is that okay?
Yep, agreed.
Okay. Any other changes? Okay, so I will make a motion to amend tonight's meeting agenda to add item A1, which is approve the minutes for December the 23rd, 2024. A2, which will be a discussion about the moratorium that will potentially be voted in place. The third amendment will be under action item E, will be a presentation about the office space for the city of Mulberry. And then item G at the end will be the first read of the insurance premium tax ordinance. Do I have a second to that motion to amend?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. At this time, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, the amendments or the meeting agenda is amended. And so at this time, I'll make a motion to approve this meeting agenda for December the 30th, 2024 as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously that is the Mulberry City Council meeting agenda for this evening as amended. Okay, that brings us to the next item H, which is the public comments. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up for public comments? No, okay. So we will continue moving on. The next item, item I, will be a presentation by Gwinnett County Office of Emergency Management, and so I will go ahead and turn the floor over to them.
Let me try again. There we go. Good evening. My name is Michael Shaw. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for the Gwinnett Office of Emergency Management. For those of you that are not aware, the Office of Emergency Management is a coordinating agency. We helped the county to prepare, respond to, and recover from events and incidents that have the potential to meet or exceed the county's normal ability to respond and address incidents. Emergency management agencies are a requirement for every county within the state. So every county is required to have an emergency management agency. So while administratively we exist within the police department, we have a responsibility to the entire county, so the cities as well as county governments equally. We don't differentiate in any particular way. So for today, I'll do a quick introduction. Again, my name is Michael Shaw. I'm the Emergency Management Director. I've been with the county for approximately 14 years. Also presenting will be Kimberly Walker. She is an emergency management specialist. Additionally, Stephanie Swanson is another emergency management specialist. She will be presenting as well. I think in our audience, we also have Kevin Hill. He is our Deputy Director. We are a small staff of about 9 individuals. Additionally, we have a liaison from the Sheriff's Office that sits with us within our office and helps us with special projects. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Kimberly so she can go over the first presentation, which is going to be the hazard mitigation plan.
Thank you, Michael. Again, my name is Kimberly Walker. I've actually been with the county for about 5 months, I think. But I've been in emergency management for over 10 years. Today, I'm here to talk to you about hazard mitigation plan. But first, a little bit, what is hazard mitigation? These are activities that the city can do in order to lessen or prevent future damages or harm to your citizens. So think construction projects on your water systems, or think about planning with your citizens. So why is the hazard mitigation plan important? So FEMA requires a hazard mitigation plan to receive federal funding. So there are quite a few grants out there that you can receive funding for hazard mitigation projects. There's a hazard mitigation grant program, there's BRIC, there's a dam program for local dams. And then I think it's important what it does. It'll build partnerships with your community and your citizens. It'll bring awareness to natural hazards in your community and any vulnerabilities. It's also important financially because it drives for cost-effective mitigation. The grants are a cost-share program, and it's a good opportunity to take, for sure. So how does this work? So Gwinnett County Office of Emergency Management has a Hazard Mitigation Steering Committee, and this is composed of the county departments, the city representatives, other partners like I think there's the GGC representative, and other things like that. So we have one multi-jurisdiction plan. So there's an overall plan, and then each city has a section attached to the plan. And it is required for the jurisdiction to adopt that plan individually. So this plan is updated every 5 years. We have to get it reviewed by GMA and FEMA for approval. Why we're here tonight, and the most important part is our update is very soon. So we're projecting that we wanted to submit to GMA by this first quarter of 2025. And we've actually kind of helped you out some. Let me back up some. So the plan requirements, this is just like an overall process of the big picture plan that the county and the Hazard Mitigation Steering Committee has participated in. And you'll see the listed different elements. This is what GMA and FEMA are reviewing for. And what's your responsibility or next steps is to, so we've, as the OEM office, have kind of helped out because of the short timing. We have a draft example for you for the City of Mulberry's portion, and it requires mitigation actions and any specific city information. So think like flooding, or if you know of any other vulnerabilities that you're aware of that's not in the overarching identification. And then, so tonight, I would ask if we could identify point of contacts, if y'all are interested in pursuing this, and then talk about adopting a plan through a resolution. So that's all I have. Ready for Stephanie up next.
Hello, everyone. Quick refresher, my name is Stephanie Swanson. We'll be talking about the emergency operations plan. So when we talk about this, you hear us use the word plan, singular, but conceptually it is one document, but in actuality it is about 13 different documents divided just for ease of use. Because if they're all together in one singular document, it's about 1,000 pages long. So first you have your basic plan. That is your foundational document that sets the structure and our local approach to emergency management in Gwinnett County. Additionally, you have 9 support annexes. These deal with essential support functions that can be common across multiple different types of incidences, such as sheltering. You can open a shelter for a tropical weather, for a tornado, for flooding, for multiple different incidences. So those are your support annexes. We have incident-specific annexes. We have 2 of those. We have dams and winter weather. These specific annexes, they address hazard situations that require very specialized response and considerations. And additionally, we have one final document that is our standard operating guidelines. Those are the implementation instructions for these documents. So all told together, that constitutes the emergency operations plan. So the overall purpose of the emergency operations plan, this identifies the authorities under which we operate. This can include and does include the Stafford Act, that includes the Georgia Emergency Management Act, and it includes local ordinances. It also aids in integration and coordination from local governments, between local governments, non-governmental organizations, and private sector entities. These are things that we want to work out during blue sky days. We don't want to work out these coordination activity on gray sky day when the incident is happening. We want to work on that ahead of time. We want to have these things in place. It also details those specific roles and responsibilities so everybody knows who is responsible for what. That decreases duplication of effort. It also enhances communications. Communication for policymakers, for responders, and for our general public. And lastly, it increases situational awareness because of a combination of all of these things. Because everybody that is operating under this, whether it is first responders, whether it is volunteers, whether it is sheltering staff, they all understand what is going on better because they have awareness derived from all of these different functions. The plan itself is only as good as its maintenance. We can have a great plan and it's wonderful, we love it, it's fantastic, and then we put it on a shelf and we don't touch it for 12 years. That doesn't really do us any good. So we have to have that ongoing maintenance. It has to be collaborative and it has to be ongoing. We can't do it once and then 6 years later we do it again. We have to have ongoing. It has to be collaborative because this is everybody's plan. This is not just our office's plan. This is the fire department is operating under this. The police departments, all the police departments in the county are operating under this plan. So they have to be involved in that maintenance. And so what we do is I ask all of the entities that are involved to identify some designated emergency coordinators. We ask for 1 primary and 2 or more alternate. And those are our first point of contacts, not just for planning, but across anything that emergency operations does. Those are the first people we go to. So whenever we are dealing with any maintenance for any specific plan or aspect of a plan, those are the people that we're going to be involved in that. And in terms of ongoing, we have a requirement that we have set to do it at most every 4 years. But I can tell you, we don't go 4 years. We're doing this every year, every other year, sometimes multiple times a year. If we touch a plan, if we have used a plan, we're going to evaluate how well it worked. Is there anything we need to change? Is there any way we can make it better? We're going, that ongoing maintenance, it can happen multiple times a year. We do it through real world events. Anytime, we can have multiple times that we run a shelter during a year. Every time we do it, we're going to be evaluating the plan that deals with sheltering. We do it through exercises, tabletops, workshops, and administrative reviews. And all of those things, those designated emergency coordinators that we asked for are going to be involved in that so that Mulberry has a say. This is not something that our office is going to dictate what Mulberry does. If there's something in the plan that Mulberry is a part of, it's because Mulberry has agreed to be a part of that. It's not something that comes from our office, it's something that comes from the entities themselves. Thank you very much.
So I'll take the last one. It's probably the least interesting of the 3 documents, but still kind of important. So while the hazard mitigation plan addresses unlocking funding for you guys for infrastructure improvements, things like that, and the emergency operation plan certainly helps everybody develop a sense of operational coordination. The statewide mutual aid agreement really is it's a voluntary pact that all of the counties and cities have the option of agreeing to, just basically saying that they will offer reciprocal emergency management aid in times of emergency. Obviously, we are in a situation in Georgia where we don't get hit with the same kinds of emergencies that the coastal region of the state will have to deal with. Conversely, they're not going to get hit with winter weather events in most cases in the same kinds of ways. So this is an agreement that we all share that not only says that when we have the capability to, we will offer some sort of aid, but helps to establish what is going to be the reciprocation, what are the financial responsibilities that each of the agencies that are involved in that agreement are taking a part in. This is an agreement that is renewed every 4 years. We actually just went through the renewal process last year. The next time it will be expired and need to be renewed will be actually March 1st of 2028. So it's not a situation where you guys have to adopt it right away. There's a little bit of flexibility within the state that you can get on board with it whenever you would like to participate in that agreement, but it's open for you to review it and adopt it at your leisure. Overall, it offers a quicker and more efficient method for you guys to be able to request statewide assistance and aid during that time. You don't go through that process of, does the other county know that you're going to be repaying them back? Is that only going to include resources, or is that manpower and housing, things like that as well, if it were to come up? So some of the things that I would consider, I will share with you guys copies of the statewide mutual aid agreement. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you guys to read it right here. It is highly recommended that you have your city attorney look over the agreements. I can tell you that you should pay special attention to Article 4, and Article 8, which really talks about the responsibilities of you as a city, as well as goes over the details of reimbursement. Additionally, our office is always able to help if you have a specific question. Even if we don't have the answer to that, we can go to our state partners and get those answers for you. The agreement does need to be signed by the chief executive officer. What will happen is that the city will sign it, I will sign it and submit it to the state. Once the state receives it and reviews it, they will sign their copy. This year they've done it digitally, so they'll send us back a digital copy for our records, and we will share that for your own records, as well as retaining a copy for ourselves. Additionally, there is an appendix in there so that you guys can include who would be your authorized representatives, who are the people that are authorized to request that statewide aid, so it isn't necessarily just the chief executive officer of the city, if you so choose to do so. I believe that's mostly it for our office. This is our collective email account. This will go to a generalized account. Any one of our specialists will be able to receive it. This is our main number. If you would like any of our direct contact information, just let us know. We'd be happy to provide that to you. But unless any of you have any specific questions for us, that's all we have for tonight.
Any questions? Councilman Ingram?
Thank you, appreciate it. It's very informative. Just a question I had was, you mentioned the greatest risk areas. I'm just curious, when you look at the city in particular, or maybe broader Gwinnett, what do you see as kind of number 1, 2, and what are those greatest risks?
So Kimberly, I know you have done most research about the geographic region.
I can't, what's popping into my mind is actually how we've prioritized the action items in the hazard mitigation plan. And I think it's focused on winter weather is the first one. And actually, give me 1 second.
So part of the hazard mitigation process and part of that hazard mitigation steering committee that Kimberly talked about is we go over the identified hazards for the county. It's called the HIRA because we love our acronyms. It's the hazard identification and risk analysis. That's actually the first thing that gets updated. Part of that is we look at historical facts, just any changes to flood inundation mapping. Additionally, part of that hazard mitigation steering committee are what are the things that the people within the steering committee have increased in terms of what they're concerned about?
Says other examples in our priority, the next one would be severe thunderstorms, and then the next one would be tropical storms and hurricanes, tornadoes, lightning, wildfires, flooding, drought, earthquakes, dam failure, cybersecurity and hazard material spills, pandemic, epidemic, and then terrorism. Lastly, that's just all hazards, yeah. So those are the identified areas.
Any other questions?
The only other question is, you mentioned you've kind of jump-started us, because I think you said at the conclusion of this quarter, we need to submit our kind of coordination plan with the county. Okay.
Yes.
And you've already kind of jump-started that process.
Yes.
Got it.
I actually have a copy here tonight if y'all would like.
And so we need to get that back to you before the end of the quarter? Is that right? So March? Is that right? Before the end of March, or?
If you can actually give it to me the end of January.
Okay, so the end of January, and then we have, okay. All right, thanks. It's just helpful to know, kind of, sounds like an important document. Thank you.
I have a question too. So I had received an email from the GMA hazard mitigation people about doing a flooding risk assessment. Is that something that's done through your office? Is that something that we would have to do independently? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I actually spoke to, Lucy is our region's point of contact for hazard mitigation. And what she is referring to would be, if you are aware of any roads or significant infrastructure specific to your geography, any dams, and then identify the, not frequency, I'm blanking on the term. It's not severity either, it's how often, the probability of how it would occur. Yeah.
Okay. And then if you could just speak to, I know you mentioned a little bit about the grant money. Obviously, I know in the city of Mulberry we do have a dam. That I know that we would definitely love to get looked at. Can you just explain what the process is to do that? Get the grant money for the assessment, and then maybe any mitigation with the dam. How does that typically work?
That would actually be easier in a separate meeting, because it can be quite cumbersome. The different options, and it would depend on your specific scenario. So there's the dam specific grant, but then there's the hazard mitigation grant program, and that would require a pre-application to fill out that goes to Lucy. No, excuse me, that goes to another representative at GMA. And the hazard mitigation grant program is based on a percentage of declared events. So think of Helene and the previous storm that went through prior to that. The state has a prioritization of the different type of projects. The areas that were declared, the counties were declared a priority, and then the counties that are not declared would be secondary. You can coordinate with me, and I can assist through that process and providing more information, as well as on the dam project.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have one quick question, if I may.
Sure.
You talked about the grant program. Did your office have people that help with grant proposal writing, or is that our responsibility, or is that in coordination with you all?
It would be your responsibility, because you would be the expert at your area and the specific project. But what I can help you with is coordinating like the actual processes of where do I start? When do I have to turn this in? And then I can also do like a general review of like, did you complete it to the full, stuff like that.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the action items. The first one that we added as A1 is approval of the special called meeting minutes from December 23rd, 2024. All the council members should have a copy of those minutes in front of them. I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the December 23rd, 2024 minutes as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? No, at this time I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. The Mulberry City Council special called meeting minutes for December 23rd, 2024 are approved. Okay, the next item which was added as an amendment was a discussion on the plans for the moratorium based on inquiries it received. I believe, Mr. Riley, I'm going to turn this over to you, you could probably explain it much better than I could.
Well, very briefly, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, and the folks in the audience. This is the typical methodology by which you bring cities into existence. There is a transition period between the sovereignty of the county and the city, and that takes some time to get everything put together. In every new city that has started, since at least Sandy Springs, we've had the same moratorium that has to be in place. We have done a number of things to put ourselves together to have our community development and our business and signs ready to go, but there are other things that we are going to have to continue to do. Typically, this takes about a month to do so. And so I would, and we're moving expeditiously, frankly. The movement and the coordination in Mulberry has exceeded in a number of other startups that we have been through. But we will, I believe that our community development will be in place and ready to go to receive all those items on or about February 1st. We would be coming to you and ask you to remove those portions of the moratorium that were appropriate and perhaps the entire thing. The reason you do it on permits is because that permits are attached to the zoning. You can't permit a gas station in somebody's neighborhood. And so we have to have everything in place. So when people come in for the new permits, whether they be alcohol licenses, whether they be pawn shops, but whether they be convenience stores, or somebody wants to build something in a location, we have to look to see that it's all appropriate. Part of the things that we'll be doing over the next month will be, not only will we be setting up the community development department to be able to handle those things, but we will be working with the county to receive all of the zoning cases that are presently part of the zoning of Gwinnett County and will become part of our zoning after midnight tomorrow. So we'll have to retrieve all of those things so we can look at each individual property when somebody comes and asks for something to be done with that property to see what the particular status of that property is, not just the zoning status for the area, but also for the particular property. And that's the due diligence that's required. And it's going to take us about a month to get ready to do that and to protect the city appropriately and not go off without due regard of all the zoning in place to try to expedite something when we can't go forward without being sure of what the zoning is and whether it fits or not within that area. So that's the purpose of going for the moratorium, to make sure everything's in place so we can appropriately do the zoning.
Any other discussion or questions from Mr. Riley? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Riley.
Thank you.
Moving on, items A, B, and C we discussed are the contracts for the consultants, which we are going to table while we wait for that information from GERMA. Item D is approval and authorization of enrollment into GERMA. GERMA, again, for the public, is the Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency. They are a collection of cities for insurance purposes that basically provide insurance services to the city. Each of the council members have a copy of the GERMA contract. GERMA has accepted us into their program. And so first off, is there any discussion about the GERMA contract and that's as it sits in front of you, and signing that contract to enroll the city of Mulberry into the GERMA program? Any discussion or questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have one quick question. I assume this is just a standard GERMA contract. No changes have been made and this is what all the cities in Georgia agree to?
Mr. Riley, I might defer to you on that, but yes, this is what GERMA had provided as their standard contract.
I believe what they have sent you is their standard contract that they provide everybody. They will have some additions that they offered to us, but the things like the car insurance and those kinds of things, we declined those because we don't have those at this point in time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
I have one real quick for Mr. Riley. So in general, GERMA, just for maybe my education and some of the members in the audience, it provides an umbrella policy. Is that an accurate description?
That's correct. Your rate is based on the claims against you. We have no claims, we have no history, but they would take a look at us and see what the level of service that we're going to do, the kinds of things that we have in place that we are going to do it with, and they would make an initial assessment. Each year they would adjust the rates based on the number of claims that we might have. We shouldn't have the kinds of claims that other cities have because we don't have a police department, those kinds of things, or a fire department. Those are the ones that drive your numbers up. And we don't have any vehicles at this point in time. The vehicles that I think are going to be used are going to be the property of other entities, and of course part of our negotiation is that they have to carry their own insurance on their vehicles that they have.
Right. And one question for you, Mr. Riley, because I see the acronym GERMA, and then I know we also have the Georgia Municipal Association. Are those two interrelated?
Yes, they are. The Georgia Municipal Association is an association of all the member cities, which are basically all the cities in the state. And then GERMA is government, something, it is.
Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency.
That's
right?
correct. Thank you.
Got it.
And that is administered, well, GMA runs it. They hire private entities that do that for a living to actually manage it for them. But it is a insurance that all the cities go together to basically self-insure based on a group, and then they reallocate how much our costs are based on what our claims are.
Gotcha. Thank you. It's been a topic of a lot of conversation in these meetings, so I think it's helpful to highlight what they're doing for us.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I have one more question, if I may. Is there a cost associated with this? Is it in here? Am I missing it somewhere? Or how much, do we know how much the cost is? I heard you mention that
There is a cost. It should be in that contract what the fee is for the year in there.
Yeah, it functions much like an insurance premium, and I think the cost is, I'd have to take a look at the budget, but I think Mr. Mayor, do you want to highlight the cost?
I do know the cost, yes. I'll tell you, I just don't want to give you bad information, so I'm going to pull it
I think
exactly
it's approximately $20,000 a month, somewhere in that vicinity. I'll let Mr. Mayor clarify, though.
So the GERMA quote that was provided has a total annual contribution from the city of Mulberry of $8,331.
8 or 80?
$8,331. $331.
That's our annual premium?
Yes.
Okay, that seems fair.
I'm sorry?
That seems fair.
Car insurance.
Yeah. Okay, and then they also provided the list of their coverages. It's a combined single limit for those who care. For those who, it's of $1 million, so it's a combined single limit of $1 million. There is no uninsured motorist coverage since we don't have vehicles. There is hired and non-owned liability of $1 million. And then there's some crime coverages, some additional extended automobile coverages, but I'll be happy to provide that if anybody would like to see it. But yes, that's the amount. Any other questions? Any other discussion about this contract? And if you gentlemen will flip to, I believe it's the second to last page. So they actually give us a resolution to adopt to enter into the GERMA program. So I will make the motion both to allow the mayor to sign this agreement for enrollment into GERMA, as well as the adoption of the resolution as proposed on the second to last page of that packet for the city of Mulberry to enroll into the GERMA insurance program. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Okay, if there's no other discussion at this time, I will call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, it is unanimous that the mayor is authorized to sign the agreement with the GERMA, and the resolution authorizing membership in the Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency is hereby adopted. Okay, moving on to the next item, item E, as amended, was a presentation about the proposed office space for the city of Mulberry, as well as approval of a potential commercial sublease for the space. And I will say this, to give some credit, that I know that Councilman Ingram's been working very hard on this, on finding a space for the city. And so I personally want to thank him for all of his hard work that he did in working together. And there was a few different council members that had worked together on this space, but Councilman Ingram really kind of went the extra mile to try to make this happen. So I'm going to, if it's okay for you, Councilman Ingram, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you and let you present the space as proposed to the council, and we can talk about it.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Do you want me to go out there, or do you want me to, can I talk about it from there? Okay, got it. Thank you for, that's nice of you to say, but I think everybody on the council here has put a lot of time and effort into the office, so appreciate everybody's efforts in getting us where we're at. So just real quickly, I'll summarize. We had, obviously we have a need for a office space to conduct city affairs. The space requirements we had was, kind of significant, and I'll just detail some of the space requirements that informed our search. So first and foremost, we needed a place for the citizens of Mulberry to come and conduct city business. And that's important. I know it's important to every one of us up here that we represented and had an appropriate space for citizens to come to and conduct their business with the city. And so in line with that, we wanted to make sure that it was a nice space and it had an appropriate look and feel to it. We needed to make sure it had ample parking. We needed to make sure it could potentially hold council meetings, city council meetings, and other activities that the city might undertake. We also needed it to be able to be contracted only for 1 year at a time, which is very atypical for commercial space, as anyone who's in that business may know. The other requirements we had were it needed to be obviously ADA compliant, and we needed to be able to move in on January 1st of 2025. So that's quite a laundry list of items. And last but not least, it needed to fit our budget. So we had quite a list of items that were informing our space requirements. The other thing I would mention is, in this particular search process, just to inform maybe some of the citizens, there is obviously the space itself, but there's also items such as taxes and insurance and common area maintenance. There's a lot of things you get into that can make the cost of that space elevate pretty quickly. So we wanted to be mindful of that in our search. We looked at 4 locations. The 4 locations we looked at There's not a lot of commercial space, to be honest with you, in the city of Mulberry. It was important that we try to find something within the city of Mulberry for the citizens, and there's just not a lot out there. We looked at a few spaces, 4, as I mentioned. We disqualified 3. The disqualifications for the 3, the first was not ADA compliant, so that kind of disqualified that space. It fit the budget. Didn't have a great look, but we disqualified that space because we could not support the ADA requirement. The second space we looked at required build-out, so certainly we would have had probably 90 days of build-out, which would have put us past the January 1st. And the third space was just not a fit for us because of a number of reasons. Aesthetics, what I mentioned, and just fit and finish of the space to support city business. So the space we arrived at, which represents the contract in front of the council, Mayor Pro Tem, is that we found a great space. So I think the space is at Tarrant Trace. So if any of you are familiar, Tarrant Trace is off of Highway 124. It has a lot of medical office space in it. It's quite nice. It's just right down the road here. The space we found, thanks to Mayor Pro Tem, I believe you have some affiliation with it. It's a PT, physical therapy office, in which the tenant had just signed a fairly lengthy lease of, I think, 5 years there, I think a year into the lease. So we'll be subletting the space from them if this is approved. And the space itself is approximately 5,000 square feet, which we certainly don't need, but it worked out very nicely that the PT location has some PT that they're still doing in the space, and they want to retain about 1,500 square feet. Additionally, nice for the city is that they're going to be able to separate that space with its own dedicated entrance so that we will have our own dedicated entrance for the city. So it'll have a proper lobby, reception, and plenty of space to support our city services. And it fits our budget and fit all of the other requirements I mentioned. So I believe, and most importantly, what will be the landlord, who is the lessor, they're excited to have a municipality in there. I think it's going to be a great space for us, and they are willing to allow us to go in a year increment and allow us to get in there very quickly, which we need because we have city services we need to spin up very quickly. So all in all, I think it's going to represent a good space. Just as a final note, typical market value in this area has been anywhere from $16 to $35, $38 with all of the taxes and area maintenance per square foot per year. And so we landed kind of in that area, which I think is quite good given the quickness that we needed to move upon. So that's it, Mr. Mayor. Any questions?
Councilman Sullivan, go ahead.
Yeah, I read through the contract. It doesn't make any mention of CAM payments. Is that included in the $99,000 a year rent?
That's right. That's exactly right, Mr. Yep, Councilman. That's exactly right. So the agreement that we arrived at, I should have mentioned this earlier, it includes all of the associated CAM activities.
So we can keep it warm in the winter and cold in the summer.
That's right. In fact, the number that we have in the contract even includes utilities as well.
Okay.
So there will be no additional utility payments.
Second question for you. The contract mentions the primary lease, but it's not included in this contract. Do we have a copy of that? Do we know what it says?
We will make sure it's included as part of this. That's one of the requirements of this contract. So we're expected to get that from him. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to make that same comment. I think what we do is we adopt this contract subject to a legal review of the master contract and then any, sign off by the landlord or changes that need to be made on that, if that's okay. Just because obviously we want to make sure we allow ourselves the opportunity to review that prime lease that this is subordinate to, just to make sure there's not anything in there that could, be harmful.
Absolutely. Yep. Agree, Mr. Mayor.
Ooh, and one more thing I would add that I didn't see where CAM was mentioned. It needs to be called out that it's inclusive. And we should list, I haven't practiced real estate for 10, 12 years, but I've had my license for over 20. And these are things that are missing. You've got to dot your T's and cross your I's 15 times over, you'll get bit.
100%, yeah.
I would definitely want to see that in there as well.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think that's a great call out.
I guess my question would be, council members, is what do you want to do? Do you want to go ahead and adopt this lease tonight? Do we want to try to mark it up and we could revisit this tomorrow night with those changes? I mean, do we have any discussion? I mean, I know we need to move on the space, so I want to make sure that we understand that there's a commitment and we can start operating out of it and receiving mail fairly quickly. But I mean, Councilman Ingram, I mean, you would know more. You've been in discussion with them. What do you feel is the best course of action for that?
I think all the discussions, I mean, the current, so the current PT office that's there, they've been quite amenable to this arrangement, so I think they're happy to have us. So I've been in conversation with them. I think anything that's reasonable as modifications to this or further detail, such as Councilman Sullivan indicating the CAM, I think will be, will be acceptable to them. I don't see that we're going to find ourselves, but really it's up to the council whether we want to adopt this subject to a few other changes or just do it tomorrow.
Can we get a copy of the master agreement tomorrow or tonight even, and get that to Mr. Riley?
I think we can have it by tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we just kick this till tomorrow? Can we?
I think that's fair.
So then, just so I understand, so I'll entertain a motion to table this until tomorrow night's meeting at midnight, and in the meantime, I understand, Councilman Ingram, you're going to try to get us a copy of that prime lease. We're going to add a sentence per Councilman Sullivan's recommendation. This includes the CAM fees, and then obviously we'll have to still. I notice there's a signature line for the landlord as well. So obviously we'll have to make sure that obviously this is subject to the signature of the primary landlord as well too. But if you could get those items, I think that'd be great. So I'll go ahead and make the motion. So I'll make a motion to table the signing of the commercial sublease for the property at, did you provide the address, Councilman Ingram?
Yeah, the property is located at 2089 Terran Trace, Suite 120.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table the commercial sublease signing for 2089 Terran Trace, Suite 120, Decula, Georgia, to give Councilman Ingram additional time to get those additional documents that we requested and to add that change as well. Do I have a second on that?
You have a second?
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, then it's unanimous that we will table this commercial sublease until the 0011 meeting to provide Councilman Ingram a little more time to get those other items. But thank you again, Councilman Ingram, for your work on that. The next thing on the agenda is the adoption of the insurance premium tax ordinance, which everyone should have in front of them. Mr. Riley, there is no public hearing requirement for this, correct?
There is no public hearing requirement on it. No,
Okay.
None.
Okay. Is there any discussion or questions for Mr. Riley on this ordinance pertaining to the insurance premium tax? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adopt this ordinance for the code of the City of Mulberry by creating insurance fees within the city and for other purposes. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, may I make just one quick comment? Sorry.
Sure.
Just for anybody listening, this is not a new tax for any citizens or anything that is going to be coming out of their pockets. I just want to make sure that point of clarification.
Thank you, Councilman Rudnick. Why don't you, Mr. Riley, explain what this is for that purpose?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem's exactly right. This is a insurance premium tax that's presently being collected, and the insurance commissioner makes distribution of these taxes. Presently, the insurance commissioner makes the distribution of the monies to the county of Gwinnett. From now on, starting January 1st, he will make the distribution to the city of Mulberry for those persons within the city of Mulberry that were paying those taxes. So that money will go to the running of the city of Mulberry rather than to the running of Gwinnett County. So it's just a change of who gets the check from the insurance commissioner, and that the city will get that money so they can use it to the means that they feel is most appropriate, rather than leaving it with the county to decide how to spend the money.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rudnick. Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance of the Code of the City of Mulberry, Georgia by creating insurance fees within the city and for other purposes as outlined in front of us today.
Did you make a motion or did you entertain?
You can make the motion.
Okay. I make a motion to adopt the City of Mulberry insurance premium fees as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, at this time, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, the ordinance for the Code of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating an insurance fees within the city and for other purposes is hereby adopted. The item G, which we added as an amendment, is the first read of the insurance premium tax ordinance. So, Mr. Riley, I will turn it back over to you for that first read of that ordinance.
Sorry. This is well, frankly, all you have to do is give the title of it. This is an ordinance for the Code of the City of Mulberry, Georgia, creating insurance fees within the city and for other purposes. This is an ordinance that will provide that the city will collect the insurance premium tax fees that are collected by the Insurance Commission and will be returned to us rather than being remitted back to the county of Gwinnett for those fees that are collected within the city. That's all we need for the first read.
Okay, that concludes the first read for the ordinance for the City of Mulberry creating insurance fees for the city and for other purposes. We have on the agenda an executive session. Unless I hear from one of the other council members, I don't feel like an executive session is necessary, so I will make a motion to remove the executive session and table that item. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, we will remove the executive session. We will not have that this evening. Prior to our adjournment, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Just a reminder, like I said, we have the meeting at 00:00 hours, January 1st. We look forward to seeing everyone there. I also would like to again thank the Gwinnett County Emergency Management Department for coming. We really appreciate the presentation and you guys taking the time to be here, so thank you for that. Is there any other matters for the council before we take a motion to adjourn? All right, hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? All right, we will stand adjourned. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you, and Happy New Year.